President Trump taking direct aim at our economy, it cannot be business as usual. To protect Ontario, to build a competitive, resilient, and self-sufficient economy, we need to unlock every cent of economic growth we can.
Unveiling a plan to unlock the province's economic potential. Premier Doug Ford announcing a series of measures today he says will help advance critical development projects, including the Ring of Fire. Good afternoon. Premier Ford was at the Toronto Stock Exchange this morning to announce the series of measures in an effort to cut red tape and streamline approvals.
The Premier says the legislation is crucial to allow the province to be a strong and self-reliant economic engine in the face of U.S. tariffs. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris was at the announcement this morning and joins us now with more details. Siobhan.
Well, you could really sense from the Premier just how frustrated he is at seeing how long it often takes to get a project from the drawing board to shovels in the ground. And he says that needs to change with, as Donald Trump, as he describes it, Donald Trump trying to annihilate Ontario and Canada with its tariffs. So one of the things that the legislation being introduced this afternoon does is create special economic zones, the government's calling them. Projects in those zones are designated as being good for the economy or important to Ontario's security. The government's working on the parameters for what that will look like, how it will be determined, what those are exactly, but they will be eligible for a sped up, streamlined approvals process to really get shovels in the ground more quickly. They're hoping to implement the first one of these in September. They're also shortening the period of time or, again, streamlining projects like mining. Here's what we heard from the Minister of Energy and Mining.
Under the existing system, a project proponent in the Ring of Fire or anywhere in Ontario has to pursue multiple permits, multiple ministries with unlimited number of days on the public service and government to make a decision. So, you mentioned that there are variables we don't control, and this proposal respects fully the duty to consult. And that will take the time it takes to make sure it's meaningful. But on the things we control in government, the number of days a public servant or a minister actually gets to adjudicate on a permit, that now will have a maximum number of literally, we're going to impose a maximum number of days on government to make decisions. We're going to cut down the permitting process by at least 50%, which can mean a permit can be approved within 24 months, which is even quicker than the EU's 27 months, which they just reformed the last month.
That duty to consult is about discussing plans with Indigenous communities, making sure that they're on board, that their concerns are discussed. Those will be maintained, but there will be, again, some streamlining. Rather than weighing in on every permit along the way, there'll be a one-project approach, so one consultation. Reporting live, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. The city's announced support for Toronto manufacturers impacted by U.S. tariffs.
It's part of an overall response plan to help local businesses during this time of economic uncertainty. CTV's Mike Walker is live in North York this afternoon to explain. Mike.
Well, Michelle, Nathan, we're inside Plastic Plus. This is a family-owned manufacturing business for more than 40 years that produces optical lenses. The owners here tell us since this trade war has started, they are noticing an impact by all the uncertainty that is being created. They say consumer spending is down. Retailers that they supply their products to are scaling back their orders. Now, in response to all of this uncertainty, the mayor was here to announce the launch of a 6-month industrial property tax deferral program, which means eligible manufacturers will have until November 30th to pay taxes without incurring any late payments, penalties, or interest. Here's more from Mayor Olivia Chow and Budget Chief Shelley Carroll.
This program will give businesses more flexibility. It will help with cash flow, and it will provide some immediate relief. This is cash relief for the businesses who needs it most, and it is responsive to what manufacturers have asked for.
Right now, in response to what we hear from the White House almost nightly, we don't know if Paul has a sudden supply chain problem or some challenge that he faces. We want him to be able to keep these workers working. We want him to be able to respond in the meantime.
So again, under this program, property taxes for manufacturers would be delayed or deferred until November 30th. I asked the mayor what would happen, given all the uncertainty, if eligible businesses wouldn't be able to pay their outstanding property taxes after this 6-month deferral. The mayor responded by saying the city will evaluate on a case-by-case basis. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Back to you.
Thank you, Mike. We turn now to a shocking scene on the lakeshore last night. A man rushed to hospital after his vehicle burst into flames.
It took crews nearly 40 minutes to remove the driver from the vehicle. He remains in critical condition. CTV's Janice Golding's been following this story and joins us now with the latest. Janice.
Hi, Nathan. This pile of debris you see behind us is all that remains of a horrific fiery crash that took place here along the lakeshore near High Park last night.
That a Hyundai Veloster was traveling at a high rate of speed eastbound on Lakeshore Boulevard West of Colborne Lodge Road. At one point, it hit a curb, then it hit a hydro pole and suffered quite dramatic damage to the vehicle.
Their initial fire attack was to put out the fire. Then we got into a very extensive extrication effort. There's a concrete pole on top of the car with the driver trapped underneath. We had 2 heavy rescue squads and 5 other support vehicles here. It took approximately 40 minutes to get the driver out.
Now, police say a 24-year-old man is fighting for his life in hospital after he crashed his hatchback into a hydro pole at a high rate of speed. Police say they were called to the area of Lakeshore Boulevard West and Colborne Lodge Drive at around 10 to 9 p.m. for reports of a crash. They say when they arrived, the vehicle was already fully engulfed. Officers say a number of citizens had tried to extract the driver from the vehicle with no success while waiting for emergency responders, and then the vehicle erupted in flames about a minute or 2 later. Fire crews moved in quickly and got the fire under control pretty shortly. However, getting the driver out of the car proved much more difficult. In fact, Chief Wallace told reporters on the scene that this was the worst, one of the worst crashes he's ever seen in his 37 years on the job. Of course, the driver was taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. Federal party leaders faced off in the French language debate in Montreal last night.
Deciding Quebec's priorities isn't your jurisdiction. I don't go to your house and tell you how to paint your wall, do I?
I know how to negotiate. And I agree with Mr. Singh. We need to start by saying what's never going to be on the table.
I'm going to put Canada first. I will never compromise Canada's interests.
You would make Canada more like the United States. You would Americanize our healthcare system.
That's not true.
The leaders of the Liberals, Conservatives, NDP, and Bloc Québécois all made their cases to voters with a focus on shoring up support in Quebec. Absent from the stage was Green co-leader Jonathan Pedneau after the debate commission said his party no longer qualified. After the debate, the leaders took questions in both French and English.
In this circumstance that we're in, given the scale of the crisis and what needs to be done, I would say a relentless focus on growing the economy to work for all Canadians.
We are the only party that's willing to protect freedom of the press, of all the media, and we will also repeal C-11, the censorship law.
If you want someone who's going to stand up and fight back against those cuts, hold the Liberals to account. You need to send New Democrats to Ottawa like you did before, and we were able to deliver dental care and pharmacare. Send more New Democrats again to Ottawa, and we will fight back against these cuts.
The denial of the reality of climate change since the beginning of this campaign and the change of heart of Mr. Carney, who decided to be more conservative than Mr. Poilievre, is very harmful for environment.
The federal leaders will meet once again tonight for the English debate. And joining us live from Montreal this hour is CTV's Judy Trin. Judy, are you there? Yeah,
Hi
you
there.
are, Judy.
I
hey.
am there. How are you?
Yeah, well, I'm great. So that was debate 1 of 2. And last night was really the first chance to see these leaders, this batch of leaders debate face to face. What are the big takeaways from your perspective?
Well, there was no knockout punch yesterday, but there were a lot of jibes, right? So what we can tell you is that the two front runners will probably take the brunt of the attacks tonight. Specifically, Mark Carney, who is in the lead, will be the target of all the leaders. What I can also say is that from the French debate, we are getting a sense of what the strategy will be for the English debates. I can tell you that Mark Carney was asked by Pierre Poilievre, that you were he pointed out that you were Trudeau's economic advisor, trying to hold him account for the past decade in which there are economic challenges being faced by Canadians, that is also on Mark Carney. Pierre Poilievre had a different challenge yesterday. In Quebec, he is perceived as like Trump. For example, last weekend, there was when he appeared on the very popular show Tout le Monde, he was asked a question, are you a mini Trump, a medium Trump, or a big Trump? So he was actually more muted. Mr. Poilievre took a more diplomatic stance. He was more statesmanlike, and his attacks were probably not as sharp as they could be. I expect that to change tonight, specifically in regards to how he goes after Mr. Carney related to his past job as chairman of the board of Brookfield Assets. We are already hearing the Conservatives point out the fact that yesterday Mr. Carney dropped the fact that when he was asked a question about the future clean energy, he mentioned nuclear energy, specifically Westinghouse, a company that Brookfield Assets purchased under his watch. So it shows, according to the Conservatives, that Mark Carney still has these conflicts of interest, and is he the right person to lead Canada?
And leading into the French language debate, much was said about the front runner, Mark Carney, I mean, at least in the polls at this stage, about his French. Do you think that his French not being his first language factored in to what we saw last night?
I think from what I've spoken to many Quebecers, and the French to them, Carney has already, said that he believes his French is at a 6. Some Quebecers say he's probably closer to a 5. But their primary issue right now is trade. In recent days, Donald Trump has said that he is going to put additional tariffs on semiconductors as well as the pharmaceutical industry. Right? This is also having previously said that he didn't like Quebec's Bill 96, which is the Official Languages Act, which makes French the primary language of business here in this province. Donald Trump has said that that is a trade barrier and that he wants that changed. So for them, it's the trade issue, not necessarily Mark Carney's ability to speak fluent French. They wanted to see and assess which leader could best take on Trump. As for Pierre Poilievre, he was trying to say, you know what, no one can control Trump. All we can do is fix what the Liberals did for the past 10 years and ensure that Canada is stronger for the years afterwards.
CTV's Judy Trin, live from Montreal. Appreciate the recap. Thank you.
Pleasure.
And ahead of tonight's debate, the latest polling from Nanos Research shows the race is tightening. The Liberals' lead over the Conservatives is now less than 5%. The Liberals are down more than a point to 43.5% support in this latest poll, while the Conservatives are up a point to 38.8%. The NDP sitting at 8.7%.
The margin of error for the survey is about plus or minus 2.7 percentage points 19 times out of 20. So, the reality is that it could realistically be like 41, 41, 42, 42 between the two parties. So it is tight when it comes to the ballot numbers. But, the thing is, the reality is we're still in a two-party race.
And when it comes to preferred prime minister, the latest poll shows Carney dropping more than 2 points to 47.4%. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is down slightly to just under 34%. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is up just a bit to 4.7%. Well, the NHL playoffs are right around the corner, and this time around there will be several Canadian teams vying for the cup. Joining us now to break it all down is CTV's Scott Hurst. I know most Canadian cities aren't cheering for other Canadian teams if their team is in, but it's still nice to see. How many Canadian teams are in it?
Well, there are a lot of Canadian hockey fans who will have something to cheer for because their teams will be in the Stanley Cup playoffs. 5 out of 7 Canadian teams have qualified for the playoffs. Unfortunately, teams like Calgary and Vancouver didn't make the cut this year, but that means there's still lots of teams for Canadians to get behind, and hopefully, for here in Toronto, Particularly, there could be a lot of deep Stanley Cup runs as Toronto rekindles an old rivalry with the Ottawa Senators. We have not been treated to a playoff series between the provincial rivals in more than 20 years, and so that'll be exciting, particularly for Leafs fans, as they did, of course, clinch the division and now have a game left. They're still playing tonight, Nathan, but let's focus on the playoffs because the Toronto-Ottawa series is expected to get underway on Sunday for that rivalry to be renewed for the first time in quite some time.
Should be good. Any other key matchups of note?
Yeah, so of course, for viewers watching right now, it is, of course, Toronto-Ottawa is the big series. But as we said, there are lots of other Canadian teams that are in the playoffs, including Montreal, who booked their ticket last night in dramatic fashion. They will take on the Washington Capitals in the first round. And then, of course, you go a little bit further out west. The Winnipeg Jets, fresh off the NHL best record, winning the President's Trophy, they'll take on St. Louis in the first round. The Jets, too, have had some recent playoff struggles, losing in the first round the past 2 seasons. But as I mentioned, the best record this season in the NHL. Also, don't forget about the Edmonton Oilers. They had that magical cup run last year, limping a little bit into the playoffs. They've been dealing with some injuries as of late. They'll be facing the Los Angeles Kings, and they'll start the playoffs on the road, Nathan.
And Scott, as an authority on all things, is this the year for the Leafs?
Oh, I'd love to say that, Nathan. I would love to say that, but of course we all know the struggles that have come with the recent playoff history. But this is a time to do it because the Ottawa Senators, they haven't been in the playoffs for several years now. I believe it's 8 years they haven't been in the playoffs, and so this could be the chance that the Leafs can get through the first round, get some momentum, and then hopefully go for a deep cup run.
All right, you heard it. CTV Scott Hurst on the Leafs and the quest for the cup. Exactly.
Bring it on.
Take care.
And before the Battle of Ontario in the first round, the Maple Leafs have one more game to wrap up the regular season.
Here's Matthews back with a back in front. They score! Mitch Marner's.
The Leafs clinched first place in the Atlantic Division for the first time in their history with a 4-0 win Tuesday night in Buffalo. The Leafs take on the Ottawa Senators, as we mentioned, in the first round of the playoffs. This is the first time these two Ontario squads are meeting in the playoffs since 2004. But first, they end the regular season tonight at home against the Detroit Red Wings. The schedule for the opening round of the playoffs is expected to be announced tonight.
And we have more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. The day's looking lovely. Lots of sunshine, warm temperatures rising. And as for the weekend, the warm weather will stick around. That's good, but rain is expected. How much? Jessica Smith is here now from the Markham Fairgrounds, where the Easter Fun Fest is set to take place this weekend.
Listen, I'm just having fun, Nathan, the fact that the sunshine is back. It feels like it has been forever and a day since I have seen the sun. But we're enjoying high pressure. We've got nice blue sky. We're getting ready for Fun Fest. They're setting up. It officially opens tomorrow at 10 a.m. And there's lots of fun. They're building everything as we speak. I'm looking at all the food trucks, and I'm so excited because who doesn't love a food truck Fun Fest? But it's an Easter Fun Fest, and we're getting ready for the Easter weekend. And your forecast is agreeable. But as Nathan mentioned, we are watching for the chance of showers as we make our way in towards parts of our weekend. So just keep that in mind. For now, it's not an issue. We're holding on to high pressure, not a cloud in the sky. Nice and blue out there. But this is your gentle reminder. We've got a bit of a UV index, so sun protection is key. Sitting at 7 degrees here in the city, 12 through Windsor, now much lighter northwesterly wind. So still a little fresh, maybe a light sweater, probably a good idea. But overall, you know what? It's not so bad. And as we head into the afternoon, we'll be at 12 degrees with a nice southeasterly wind. And that sunset time, 8:03 p.m. Lots of daylight left. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including your Easter weekend, but for now, I'll send things back inside.
Thank you, Jess. A U.S. federal judge has upped the ante on a growing standoff with the Trump administration on migrant deportations. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg said he's found probable cause to hold the Trump administration in criminal contempt of court. He warned he could seek to prosecute officials for violating his orders last month to turn around planes carrying deportees to an El Salvador prison. The Trump administration says it will appeal and it will not facilitate the return of a migrant who officials admit was sent to El Salvador by accident.
And as tariffs take a bite out of the economy on both sides of the border, the Trump administration is set to face a court battle over its trade policies. California Governor Gavin Newsom says his state has filed a lawsuit challenging the president's authority to impose tariffs on other countries, including Canada. It argues Trump overstepped the powers granted to him by Congress and unreasonably declared a state of emergency to justify the measures. A White House spokesperson rejected the lawsuit's claims. And it's been a mixed day so far for U.S. stocks after the chair of the U.S. Federal Reserve issued a stark warning about the outsized impact President Trump's tariffs are having on the American economy.
Tariffs are highly likely to generate at least a temporary rise in inflation. The inflationary effects could also be more persistent.
Fed Chair Jerome Powell said yesterday he's waiting for more data on the economy's direction before changing interest rates. He also said market volatility in response to Trump's tariffs was a logical reaction to dramatic policy shifts and not a sign of stress that warranted a Fed response. The president this morning slammed the decision not to cut interest rates. The president wrote in an online post that Powell was, quote, always too late and wrong, and he couldn't wait for the Fed chair's termination. Democrats said the central bank's independence had to be respected. Jerome Powell's term isn't set to end until next year, and he said that any attempt to remove him would not be permitted under law.
Pope Francis made a surprise visit to a Roman prison today in what's become a Holy Week tradition for him. There was a burst of applause as the Pope arrived. The 88-year-old is still recovering from double pneumonia that left him in hospital for weeks. He said he regretted he couldn't take part in his annual custom of washing inmates' feet, but he still led a Holy Thursday prayer. A washing of the feet ceremony also took place in Jerusalem as Orthodox Christians mark the start of Easter holidays. The ceremony mirrors the biblical story of Jesus washing his disciples' feet. This marks a rare year where Easter falls on the same date for Orthodox and Catholic Christians.
Well, there's a lot going on. For some, it is Passover. For others, the Easter long weekend is upon us. And I think it's really nice and exciting that we're putting those really cold temperatures behind us. And we're getting some real spring temps.
It is great news, especially if you have the day off tomorrow. It's a long weekend. And especially today, the sunshine is cooperating. And Jess, looks like you're having a good time where you are.
Listen, we are at Easterfest, the beginning of Easterfest. It officially opens tomorrow. They're getting ready. We've got all the Easter eggs ready for the hunt taking place. I'm joined by Evan Aronoff. You're the man with the plan, the man in charge when it comes to Easterfest. Talk to me about what people can expect, because I know sometimes this weekend can be busy, but you guys are offering a lot.
We are. We've got 4 days of fun here at Markham Fairgrounds for Easter Fun Fest. You come in. We've obviously got the Easter egg hunt here in the barn. We've got about 50% indoor space inside the fairgrounds, plus an entire midway full of rides, games, entertainment, amazing photo ops. We even have a 15-foot tall Easter bunny. Trackless train, and when people come, it's a one price. You come in, the inflatables and rides are all included. We've got a wide range of food trucks, full stage of entertainment, and lots going on all weekend long.
You had me at 15-foot bunny and photo ops. Now, I know obviously the weather is going to be a little bit of an issue. There's some rain, but that's not going to stop anybody from coming down, I would assume, to enjoy all the activations you have here, because you do, as you mentioned, have some indoor options. What can people expect when it comes to the different activities they can do? Because we have kids of all ages coming through, and the parents want to have some fun too.
Well, I'd say the absolute feature is here behind us. It's the Easter egg hunt. We have it running all day long, every single day. Obviously, all the indoor spaces as well. We've got, I would say, upwards of about 30 rides and attractions, giant inflatables, a full stage of entertainment. There's we even have a spider jump. It's a giant trampoline system you can jump on. The trackless train, big inflatable maze, just lots of stuff. It goes on. You go to our website, Easter Fun Fest, all of the rides and attractions are there. And once again, it's all included when you come in. A few things are extras, but most of the inflatables and rides are included.
And it is open for the 4 days, so from Friday through to Monday?
Yes, Friday through Monday, we're 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. I'm excited. I'm going to do an Easter egg hunt after I do my forecast because you have to know what the weather's going to be as you make your way throughout the weekend. And after a, rough few days, we're getting a bit of a change. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Now, high pressure has finally moved back into our forecast, and it is going to be a beautiful day. So if you can get out and enjoy some of that, I recommend. Sitting at 9 right now, 12 in Windsor. Everybody on the positive side for the most part, with the exception of our friends in extreme northern Ontario. As we head throughout the day today, again, we get a break from the cold, another very seasonal day right across the board, and we're holding on to those temperatures as we head into this evening as well. After a cold night last night, we're right on par for where we should be, sitting at 4 degrees, but we are watching for a system set to roll in late tonight and early into the day tomorrow. But again, I promise it will not rain on your Easter parade. Now, as we make our way through the next couple of days, we are keeping an eye on that system sitting just west of us, set to roll through early in the day tomorrow. But again, not a wash of a day in the bulk of that system sitting in northern Ontario. And as they mentioned, they have indoor options here at Easter Fun Fest, so you can still come on down and have some fun. Typing everything out again today, high pressure, the dominant system, keeping it nice and clear as we make our way throughout your Thursday. Now, heading into the evening, we see a little cloud cover push in. And there's that system. 7 a.m., the first kind of wave rolls through, but again, it's heavier up towards our friends in Owen Sound. And then as we head into the afternoon, another wave late morning, and then we get a little bit of a break. So if you're coming down after 10 a.m., after the Fun Fest opens here at the Markham Fairgrounds, and you've got lots of options. And if it do see a bit of a sprinkle, you can head inside. But again, the bulk of that active weather staying to the north. Some scattered showers into the early morning hours on Saturday, and then we are watching for just periods of rain off and on throughout the afternoon. And then again, we get a break into that second half of the day. So it's quite nice. Temperature-wise, as we go through the next few days, it is going to be warm. We get up to 18 degrees for your Friday, 19 on Saturday. So yeah, there's a little rain out there, but it's not a wash of a day, so you can get out and enjoy the weather. Heading into Sunday, lots of sunshine, very seasonal, sitting at 12 for the high, 4 for the low. And then as we get in towards Monday, a little cool out there. We dip a little below seasonal. Another system comes through, set to bring us down just shy of seasonal for the daytime high, but we lose none of that warmth into the evening. And just in time for Earth Day on Tuesday next week, the sun comes right back out. So a great way to enjoy the Easter weekend, and looking ahead to next week, it stays nice and warm, finally. Nathan, Michelle, I'll send things back inside to you.
All right. Thank you, Jess. Turning next to the latest developments at Ontario Place. The controversial redevelopment plans back in the spotlight after a new report in the New York Times.
The newest findings are raising questions about the province's deal to redevelop the waterfront land, which includes plans for a privately operated spa. CTV's Sean Leathong has the latest.
The West Island at Ontario Place is bare, the land cleared, making room for a spa. But that spa, according to the New York Times, may have been sold to the province based on misleading information. In a story published today, the New York Times investigation found that Therma falsely presented itself as an industry player that operated as many as half a dozen spas in Europe. In fact, it had built and operated just one outside Bucharest, Romania. And as it pitched its vision for Toronto, Therma's finances appeared to be shaky. Auditors found that it was losing money and had less than €1 million or $1.1 million in equity. At a community meeting tonight, the group called Ontario Place for All has been working to stop the development of the spa, and they say this article was shocking.
Pretty scathing. I think it's surprising that the province didn't do their due diligence.
They have only had one spa that's been successful in Europe, but they claim to have many more. So it looks like our provincial government was hoodwinked.
In the article, the New York Times says there are in fact two different companies called Therma, with the newer, less established Therma having made a deal for the land at Ontario Place.
So Therma never misrepresented ourselves. We have a long-standing relationship with the developers of the projects in Germany. It's actually a long collaboration and such a close collaboration that we've just purchased their flagship location outside of Munich.
According to the New York Times, in 2023, the company doubled down. Therma Group currently operates 4 large-scale facilities in Germany and Romania, it told the Ontario authorities. In fact, the only spa Therma had ever operated was in Romania. The article goes on to say that Therma has since secured bids in other cities like Manchester, England, and are working on more in Washington, D.C. and Dubai, all based on the Toronto deal. And there's question whether they have the capital to deliver, Premier Ford saying,
"You know, anything that was said in the story from the Times,
we'll look into it and make sure everything passes the smell test.
The government looks like an absolute fool. They look like fools.
NDP MPP Chris Glover says this is an embarrassment for the Ford government.
And yet they signed a contract with them to give them a $2.2 billion taxpayer subsidy and a 95-year lease on public parkland. Like, this project has to be canceled.
Something this group is hoping the Premier will consider.
Premier Ford has been known to change course when faced with public pressure. The question for the people attending this meeting is if this information will be enough for him to do so. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
Proceedings are now underway in the charter challenge against the Ford government's move to scrap some bike lanes in the city. A group of cyclists filed the case after the Ford government said it would remove protected lanes on Yonge, Bloor and University and return them to a lane of vehicle traffic. In court yesterday, lawyers for the cycling advocates argued doing so would violate the constitutional right to life and wouldn't reduce congestion. Lawyers for the government rejected those claims. Meanwhile, the province and city say they're still trying to find a compromise to keep bike lanes in place while returning some space to vehicles. Well, it's a new era in Canadian sports, with the country now home to a professional women's soccer league.
The inaugural season for the Northern Super League kicked off in historic fashion in Vancouver last night. CTV's Martin McMahon was there.
Celebrate this league, these incredible athletes, and this unforgettable night in Canadian sports history.
It has been a long time coming, but Canada now has a professional women's soccer league. And on opening night for the Northern Super League, Vancouver Rise FC, well, rose to the occasion.
Ward against Michaela Moore. Tackle in the box, and we've got a penalty.
Up stepped Quinn to the spot, the Canadian international. And while the visiting Calgary Wild had some half chances, it was ultimately Vancouver's night as the Rise claimed a 1-0 victory.
It was super duper fun.
It felt like watching history, kind of. It was really incredible. So amazing to bring my daughters to this.
And I like that the girls finally have a team in Canada.
The atmosphere, everyone was like really, I think, happy and excited for the game. And then especially when we scored the goal also, that was a good moment.
The Rise already has a supporters club, the Crow Collective. It draws its name from the Crows, which crowd Burnaby, where the Rise will play their home games at Swangard Stadium for the rest of the season.
Playing at Swangard is just going to be like that, just so iconic for everybody. And the way that the collective became is because it's a group of women who are supporting women.
But I think it keeps girls in particular engaged in sport, and that's something that's been a struggle because there haven't been those opportunities.
And after this dream start, the Vancouver Rise are back in action on April 27th at Swangard Stadium. Martin McMahon, CTV News, Vancouver.
And with the season now officially underway, the countdown is on for AFC Toronto's first match, hosting Montreal Roses FC Saturday afternoon at BMO Field. Joining me now is AFC Toronto midfielder Chloe Uddenberg to talk about the upcoming season. Chloe, how exciting is this for you to make history in Toronto in a couple of days?
Yeah, I'm super excited. Like, I've been feeling a bit of a mix of emotions just because it's finally here, it's finally now. I've always dreamed of this moment of playing professional right here at home in front of all my family and friends, and just inspiring that next generation of players right here at BMO Field.
Now, you played a lot of high-profile soccer. What will the atmosphere like? Will it be different, do you think?
Yeah, I think, like, we're preparing ourselves as best as possible for this moment. Being at home in front of a home crowd, like, that atmosphere is something that, you know, is just going to push you and give you energy, and we're going to thrive off that energy. So I think you can prepare yourself as much as possible. But again, this is like a moment in history that has never been done before. So I think we just got to enjoy the moment, but at the same time compete, and at the end of the day, get a result for all those people that are coming out to support us.
That would be nice. Now, many, of course, consider you a role model. How impactful do you think this is going to be for young girls to see professional women play soccer in this country?
It's going to be like the greatest opportunity for these young girls. Like, I never had that opportunity to watch like pro players right in front of me, 10 minutes from my house, an hour from my house. So like, to just be on that field to show this next generation of young girls and boys that you can achieve your dream if you stick to it, you work hard, and you just put your best foot forward every day. Like, it's going to be huge for them to just see it right here in front of their eyes and in person.
It's going to be so exciting. The team that you're playing on, AFC Toronto, how would you describe it?
It's amazing. It's a really good environment. I chose it because, first of all, I just think it's very competitive. Like, every day, our coaches just push us to push our limits. But at the same time, behind the scenes, is we're very community based and want to give back to the community around us, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to be filling the stands and cheering and supporting us on. So just playing here at home and having that competitive environment and that community around us is massive to me and a lot of the other girls on the team.
How big was soccer in your family growing up?
It was massive. I have 3 sisters who also play soccer, so my parents were always at a soccer field every night of the week. So it was huge. And to have them all come and see me live out my dream is going to be incredible. They know what it's like to play in pressured situations and everything. So I just can't wait for that moment for them to watch me live out a dream of mine.
Wow, to have so much family and friends there, does that make you nervous, or are you just used to that?
I think a bit of both, nerves and excited. Again, all my close family and friends have heard me talk about my dreams, have watched me, have supported me during the tough times, have cheered me on during the good times. And I just think having them there is just going to motivate me even more to give it my all and just show them again, inspire them as well. You can do anything if you put your heart and mind to it. So
you are definitely an inspiration. AFC Toronto midfielder Chloe Uddenberg, thanks so much and good luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see you in action. To the diamond now, the Blue Jays wrapped up their series with the Atlanta Braves yesterday afternoon.
Guerrero high and deep to left field, and there it is.
That was yesterday afternoon. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit his first homer of the season in the 6th inning, giving Toronto a 2-0 lead. They would end up winning the game 3-1. The Jays are off before beginning a series with the Seattle Mariners tomorrow.
Coming up, celebrating the best of the television industry, the host of the next Emmy Awards has been named, and that's him. Details after the break.
The Emmy Awards has found its next host. Stand-up comedian Nate Bargatze will MC the September 14th show. The ceremony honors the best of the television industry. Last year's show was hosted by father-son duo, you might remember, Eugene and Dan Levy, lifting ratings up 54% from the previous year. The Television Academy noted Bargatze's multi-generational appeal in choosing him as host, and he said he's beyond excited for the opportunity.
It's perhaps not a surprising turn of events. The sequel to Fire Festival has been postponed, with the future of the event up in the air. The Fire Festival in 2017 was an epic disaster, with its original organizer, Billy McFarland, going to prison for fraud. McFarland is heading up this second attempt, which is supposed to kick off at the end of May, but now needs to find a few locations, new locations. Tickets have already been selling for months. Attendees have been told they will be refunded and encouraged to rebuy tickets once a new date is announced. You can stay watching CTV News. More news after the break. Stay with us.
Now more than ever, Canadians need to know where our leaders stand. CTV News keeps you informed on the issues that hit home. This election, connect to Canada's most trusted news source, CTV News, now more than ever.
Amid ongoing political tensions with our neighbors to the south, Canadians are canceling business trips to the U.S. One of the world's largest travel groups says business air travel between Canada and the United States declined close to 40% in February compared to last year. A range of industries are pulling the plug on planned trips despite possible fees or lost deposits, with cancellations extending into 2027. Experts say upcoming corporate events without a set destination could end up in Canada, Mexico, or somewhere other than America.
And as the trade war wages on, we're starting to see a shift in where students are considering studying.
Some post-secondary schools in Ontario say they are seeing an uptick in interest from south of the border. CTV's Alexandra Hollick has that story.
Ontario universities are gaining attention from American students.
We do have a big American population on campus.
A population that could soon grow as students living in the U.S. look to Canada to pursue their post-secondary studies. In a statement to CTV News, a spokesperson for the University of Guelph says the school has seen a 31.5% increase in U.S. applicants for fall 2025 compared to the previous year. It's a 22.6% uptick in undergraduate applicants and a 100% rise for graduate studies. At the University of Waterloo, while they haven't seen an overall increase in student applications from the U.S., they have seen a jump in U.S. visitors.
We don't jokingly call ourselves MIT of the North for no reason, right? It's not a bad thing for us to attract U.S. talent.
The interest comes as U.S. President Donald Trump announced federal funding cuts to major universities, including Harvard and Columbia, citing a need for diversity, equity, and inclusion policy changes.
I mean, we have had our fair share of cuts as well. There's also a challenge of the cap we have on international students. So there's only so many we can take.
As American students look north, Canadian professors are being asked to avoid traveling south.
This is not the time to travel into the U.S. unless that travel is essential.
The Canadian Association of University Teachers issuing a travel advisory cautioning of extra scrutiny on those who have been critical of Trump or have ties to countries at odds with the U.S.
This is clearly a dangerous time for academics in the U.S. We look with concern at what's happening south of the border, but it's affecting all of us.
Back at UW, students say despite the uncertainty, American academics are always welcome.
We're very comfortable with U.S. students, and we think that they can contribute a lot to our academic environment as well as the economy of Canada.
Students at UW are also calling on the provincial government to step up their support to be able to retain students potentially coming from the U.S. or otherwise. Alexandra Hulick, CTV News.
Just ahead on CTV News at noon, from the stage to the page, a children's author is encouraging student literacy with a big book giveaway and a song. We'll have those details after this short break. One of the hottest children's book authors on the planet right now has gifted thousands of his books to children here in Toronto.
And as CTV's Andrea Case reports, Dave Pilkey supporting children's literacy with a book and a song.
Handing out free books to grade 3 students who are inspired to read.
If you take a book, you will start liking it. You get to learn words from the other books, and it can go in your imagination. To learn new words and to sound them out.
Got my sisters, got my bros, got a happy kind of feeling from my head to my toes.
At the Children's Book Bank in Regent Park, students from Dundas Public School received a popular book and were entertained by the cast of the Mirvish production of the Cat Kid Comic Club, the musical, currently on stage at the CAA Theatre. Cat Kid Comic Club is by Dave Pilkey, Pilkey of Captain Underpants and Dogman fame.
We received a wonderful donation from Scholastic and Dave Pilkey. 1,000 books to give away to children, and this is one of the hot commodities of the book bank, is a Dave Pilkey book.
Shelley Nichols is the executive director of Children's Book Bank.
We give away free books to children and their families. We offer programming to families and children.
I got the best book in the world. I like reading about all the books, and in TV, if they're showing something, I want to get and read that. I'm so exciting the books.
Pilkey also generously donated another 1,000 copies to Toronto community housing residents. Taking in the performance, Mayor Olivia Chow, who then reminisced about her early love of reading as a child in Hong Kong.
I remember reading, and I couldn't put the book down, and I would go to bed with a blanket over my head, with a flashlight, and reading with a blanket, reading the book. And I read a lot of romantic stories that my mom had and kung fu fighting.
700 people will get to take in the musical for free. Pilkey has also donated the tickets to kids so they can see the show next Monday. From the stage to the page, a creative idea to stir the imagination. Andrea Case, CTV News.
Oh, wonderful. Well, just gorgeous weather this afternoon. A bright, sunny day. Jess, there's a lot going on this weekend at the Markham Fairgrounds, and hopefully the weather, cooperates.
The weather it'll be fine, and they have indoor options too. So if it does start to rain a little bit when you're down here checking out Easter Fun Fest, you've got options, or wherever you're going this weekend. And there's a 15-foot bunny. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. They've got concessions and everything you can imagine to enjoy your weekend. Now, your forecast, beautiful today. Heading into the day tomorrow, a little unsettled to get things started thanks to a system sitting just west of us, but overall, it's not that bad. Right now, your satellite radar picture holding on nice and clear, and it's mild. Winds are sitting at 12. We're at 9 through the city of Toronto, 9 in Niagara, 4 in Ottawa, and we're sitting at 8 up in Owen Sound. So no matter where you're going today, it is going to be beautiful and fairly seasonal. Now, temperature-wise, it's even warmer into the day tomorrow, but we are watching for that unsettled weather to start the day. Late morning, though, we do get a break. So if you're coming down to the Fun Fest or you're heading out for your Easter long weekend, it won't be all that bad. Just give yourself some time on the roads. As we make our way in towards your Friday evening, we lose none of that warmth. Sitting at 16 degrees, and into your Saturday, even warmer still. And by Sunday, the sunshine comes back out just in time to wrap up the weekend. Hopefully this helps you planning and to send things back inside.
Thank you, Jess. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.